What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Blade Dive. I'm stoked you're tuned in. I'm Parker Bohan, your host as always. Real quick, a couple housekeeping things. If you haven't already followed us on social media, check us out. We're at the Blade Dive. Give us a follow, send us a DM, let us know what's going on in your world. If you're posting any photos, be sure you're using the hashtag the Blade Dive, or you can use our handle and tag us as well. Would love to see those. Still a Southern Hemisphere winter going on. Lots of photos coming in from New Zealand that I've been seeing coming our way. So stoked to be getting those. Secondly, this podcast is presented by Prenoth. Super excited to have them on board supporting this thing. They help me pay the bills and move this podcast forward as fast as I possibly can. So big shout out to them. Huge thank you to them. Okay, my guest today is Corey Tredtin, and Corey is from Vermont, grew up there, ice hockey, skiing, rails in the backyard, rails in the front yard, dropping in from the roof, as he tells the story, when snow would allow, or they could plow snow and make the ramps happen at the house compound. I'll have to post that picture for sure. But Corey was introduced to Jay Rosenbaum at the local skatepark, and the rest is history. The KSA general introduced Corey to what would become an obsession, and that was kind of the gateway, the entry into building upon a passion for terrain parks. Now, parks being kind of that foundation, Corey contributes to Killington specifically in so many different ways besides the park. He does a lot for that place outside of the ropes. Corey does have some pretty cool things that he's been a part of with respect to terrain parks, one of which was a Superpark. But on a larger scale, Corey is really all about propping other people up and really getting a chance to see them be successful. And that is exactly what the Blade Dive is all about. We're all about lifting everybody up. So Corey's got a pretty badass story. I'll let him get into it so you know the deal. If you're at home, grab your favorite drink, kick your feet up, and if you're in the machine anywhere in the world, turn up the volume.
Give it the juice. Already.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another day, another episode of the Blade Dive. And I gotta be honest, I'm kind of tired of being choked out by all the smoke up here in the Pacific Northwest. But at the same token, we got a break in the weather, and we got to go to the coast for a little bit, clear the head, relax. Still talking about the podcast while we were at the coast, though. So I don't know if there's ever really a day off from the Blade Dive. I may have to take one here shortly, but I'm enjoying this, and I'm enjoying the guests that I've got in the virtual booth with me today, because we have jumped over to the East Coast, and I've got Corey Tredtin in the virtual booth with me. And if you don't know Corey is definitely the expert, connoisseur, the Jedi, the magician of all things rideable surface, snow or dirt, for Killington, the beast of the East. So without further ado, Corey, welcome to the show, man. How are you?
Hey, brother. Let's set the tone.
Let's do it. You know the deal. We kick this thing off with a special guest question. So you cool with jumping off that way?
Yeah, man. Let's hit it.
First special guest question right out of the gate is from Will Conroy. I'll play it for you now.
Copy.
Corey, first off, I just want to say thank you on behalf of myself and everybody else that you've taught over the years how to run a snowcat. I think we're all grateful to have learned from you because you are the best and you know it. Anyway, on that note, what are the 3 things that you would tell a rookie park operator to do or not to do in their first year? And also, can you please talk about the time when you slid off the side of a jumping timberline? Thanks, buddy. See you later.
Oh, Willy. It's a BR 350, backing up, blind side, left side. Had those like new lights. First generation of those 350s with the big pipe on the right. So the right rear light blocked a bunch of light, but I was backing up, done it 1,000 times over the knuckle. And somebody called me on the radio. I like instinctively reached for the radio instead of paying attention. to the side and lost the idler wheel, or I guess it was sprocket idlers, all that side. Went off that right side of the this zog cut side. It's 13-foot mini zog cut side, and the me and the machine and I went for a serious surf. I just put my let go of everything, just put my hands on the ceiling, just braced for impact, and it honestly wasn't even that bad. We just kind of like tipped up. Every alarm was going off in the thing. Um, I've collected myself and was
I,
a
I love how
yeah.
I love how you personified the machine there. The machine and I
Yeah, yeah. Well,
went for a bit
there
of a
was no
sled.
there was no choice. Like we were going. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was kind of embarrassing.
Would you get
But
out?
honestly, like no, I was fine. I mean, I was a little shook up, obviously, but the you know that all the attention was taken after I ended up calling the other guy who was working with me. He was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna need a ride." Like, just fell off the jump, and he had the mini zog on. He had just finished cutting. He was ripping back to the shop, and he hit the power hit the power line with the zog on the way back because he. So so the next day there was zero attention to me falling off the jump. It was all the zog and the power line. So, anyways,
So combination really of like the two things together, did they cancel each other out? Was it just one of those like, well, shit happens kind of things?
we learned a lot that night. So we learned to pay attention, and we learned to not um, let the emotions run high after something scarier has happened.
Yeah, well, I
So
mean, with something like that happening, I mean, I've even had people that have told me stories of whether it's a jump landing or it's a road or whatever it is. There's sometimes some PTSD that's still left around from the experience because it's
oh
not
god,
like, you know what I
yeah,
mean? Because especially if it's like a wide out night and you can't see anything. And I mean, I may be making excuses, but at the same token, yeah,
no man,
something like that's heavy still
yeah,
to
I
experience.
I do. Yeah, man. There's been a million nights I've hung track over, a zog surface because it's too narrow or whatever. But once you get the wheels even close, and I don't know if they broke out underneath me or what. I didn't really dig into it that deep. I mean, I was pretty like young in my career too. I was talking early 2000s, so things were a little looser. Say,
Send it. I think Will was just
yeah.
trying to maybe prove the point that the invincible operator, the Jedi, even makes mistakes early on in his career. I
Oh
don't
man.
know.
No, if you only knew, the Jedi has made many, many, many mistakes. But as long as I think if you learn from them all, that's really what counts,
Yeah,
right? I mean,
yeah, absolutely. Well, I love just the first part of his question too, like the three things that you would tell a rookie operator, and really coming off of Tyler Benton's episode, I'm excited to hear your answer with this too. No matter how simple or deep you go with it.
yeah. So, well, three things might be if you go in there um, with a mind like, hey, I've done this a little bit, or I think I know what I'm talking about. Um, you're definitely going to have a harder time whether you go in there and say, oh, just teach me what you know, and roll like that. They'll tell you everything, and you can take everything that people say with a grain of salt and learn your own ways of doing things. But if you go in there thinking like I am the shit, they're not gonna be too kind to you. It's it's hard. It's hard. I've seen some younger operators come in and they hit you with the yeah, I know kind of attitude, and a lot of guys will make it kind of a struggle, like, oh yeah, we'll show you. Follow us here.
It's a really good
And
point.
I've had other guys too come in and had a year grooming experience, and my guy that I turn to for everything, Mike, he came in and he had a year of experience at a different resort, and I was like, okay, well, training him first or second night, something. He says, what? I was like, well, what do you know? Like, where can we start? And what do you know? And he's like, just pretend I don't know anything. And I've never forgotten that because something like that, like, is like, holy shit, like find a guy like that who can put the pride aside for a second and say, well, I don't know much. And even if you do know something, I mean, it's just a perception and of you don't want to be taught
Wow.
just going in there like, yeah, I'm open to anything. I'm a sponge, like teach me what you know. And if you do know stuff, well, you can disregard some stuff. I mean, I've taken I've heard a lot of things that I'm like, that doesn't make any sense, but I'll listen to them and say, okay, yeah, yeah, cool, man. That sounds great. But I'm like, I'm never gonna do that. But
Yeah, is it fair to say that you're definitely open to hearing somebody's perspective on how they would maybe attack the problem? Is that what you're getting at? Like maybe their way of attacking the issue or the task of the evening?
yeah, right, right. I think it's like these older people get like I want to say older.
It's okay. I'll label myself as older. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah. I mean,
37.
yeah. I think I'm older now too, but I think it was like different. Like in the early 2000s, you had like a lot of, whether it was just guys have been doing it since Tuckers and stuff, and they just had a totally different feel on the machines, and
Yeah.
it was like the hard way. Like everything was the hard way, which
Yeah.
I I did like that. I mean, I kind of fed off it a little bit, but as the machines got easier to use and more powerful, and you didn't need to do stuff like that, and a lot of the stuff they did was sketchy as hell. So, yeah,
Yeah, like it's send it.
yeah,
Yeah, whatever.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We're like, yeah, winch. What's that? No, we just downhill everything with these rolls behind us. Which no, to their credit, I mean that's badass as shit. But everything's changed, so safety is like forefront now, and a lot of respect to that because people would be getting hurt all the time.
What else do you think? So that would be one, like right attitude, not coming in with a I don't know it all, or I
Yeah,
know it all attitude. Sorry. What would be
yeah.
the other two
I
things?
think that know it all, that the know it all thing is like
It's crushing to me when I hear stuff like that out of people's mouths. Like I know it all. It's like, oh no, don't go there.
it's tough. It's tough because you want to come in confident, and confidence is great, but if you come in confident, like, yeah, I can learn this, like tell me what you got. Just listen to these guys for a minute, and if you do know stuff, well, you can try different things, but like, and different things will work. But
I keep throwing you on the tangent. Sorry. What would be point number 2?
yeah, point two, just have fun, I mean, everybody, you got to really remember that what we're doing is it's always just snow, and it's for recreation. So like when you get down to, I mean, there's been in my younger days, I mean, thank God for the foam ceiling in the 350, because that thing's seen a lot of fists and just blood boiling. And and now, as I've gotten older, I'm like, like what, like we're not in a hospital here saving lives, like this is recreation, like we are doing this so that people can have fun. If the snow doesn't like come out of your tiller perfect, well, maybe not tonight's not just not a great night for the snow.
That's a solid point.
And you'll have nights that won't be good.
I think people forget that. I think we get so hung up on the. I mean, we'll dive into this more later, but I do think people get so hung up on the. I got to be the
Yeah, I mean,
best, or it's got to look like this.
absolutely, absolutely. And that's just like pride of your work, right? But like at some point, sometimes it's like, well, how many times can you? This snow's like fresh snow, and it just got rained on. Like it's gonna hang in your tiller. Like there's no way around that. So you can lose some sleep over it and stress yourself out, or you can just say, hey, tomorrow's a new day, and maybe that snow, if I don't beat it up tonight, will have some life left in it tomorrow,
Yeah,
and just try to make it work.
yeah,
But
solid point.
number three, make sure you know where you're what goes where as far as like coolant or antifreeze or any of that stuff. Make sure you know where all your fluids go. And if you fall off a trail, just stop before you're too far gone.
Is that a misconception about Killington too? Because first of all, I've never skied Killington, so I'm ignorant. But you can run into the same type of thing. You fall off a trail, or you sink a track off, further than what was groomed the night before, or you back off the side of a jump landing, or what have you. That's the thing. Like, I really want you to paint that picture too. Maybe we get to that right now, but that whole, like, the 3 points that you just laid out there, I feel like what you have with a to-do list at Killington is large scale events, massive park offering, tons of groomed acreage to take care of, snow making, dirt work during the summer.
It's definitely an animal. I mean, we cover a lot of terrain, grooming. The trails aren't acreage wise, it's a lot of spread out terrain. The trails aren't super wide, it's more like East Coasty. So what that ends up giving you is a lot of like dished out corners and a lot of steeps that are just turned into mogul runs, and um, so dealing with that like a high turnover, you end up with a crazy weather pattern that will really set you up for, I don't know, let's say just like a challenge, like a pretty big challenge. Um, a lot of snowmaking to keep it going. And
Well, I was talking to
yeah,
Jeff Dorhole, for everybody that doesn't know Mr. Dorhole.
yeah, at
Uh,
Dorval.
um, he was telling me, he's like, Parker, one of the coolest things that I remember about working at Killington was that I never really knew what I was gonna get into the night that I showed up for work. Like, that was one of the or day. He was like, it could have been a number of things. Versus where he was like, some places you show up and you're just hooking up to a winch cable or a winch pick point and you're just going to groom a run.
Hmm.
Versus where, like, he said my opportunity that I had to work with Corey it was very much that. I didn't know what I was getting into. Was I going to go fix a snowmaking line? Was I going to go jump in a loader and move snow in the parking lot for access? Was I going to go winch? Was I going to go shuttle rails? Was I going to go groom this, groom that? There were a number of things that he said that he was going to get involved in on a nightly basis, depending on what was the most important. Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely how it is, and there's a certain like attitudes too that like really lend themselves to being like super um adjustable to that kind of a, I guess that's the word you would use, but like like Jeff was great like that. Like he'd be like, "Hey, I need you to take the loader down to the sewer treatment plant, and there's some loader work, but you're gonna need to jump down there with the shovel too." And he's like, "Okay, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
okay, yeah, I can do that." And that's just like a great attitude. He did, Jeff has a great attitude for doing stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it changes a lot. It changes fast. I mean, the grooming department is made up of a lot of folks who can do anything, from run loaders or excavators and make snow. um, 2 foot storm one day or powder, trying to pack it all down and track pack it, and next day it's a rainstorm, and you're like, oh god, like every culvert's plugged, like you need to send out the excavator or the minis and go unplug culverts and get the water.
That's the coolest part I think that we got to unpack is that place is it's pretty special, but it's also, there's so many things that have to happen in order for everything to be amazing the next day, for people to, like you were saying, participate in the recreational aspect of it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Super cool.
some stuff we've seen at night, like still making lines blowing in the middle, like big rupture in the middle of the trail, like the main green run to the bottom or something at like 7, 8 p.m. You're out there with like an excavator, just dirt everywhere, calling in a welder late night, put the pipe back together at 2, 3 in the morning, backfilling it, and they're making snow above you, and then graveyard shifts coming down 7 a.m. Burying the dirt and laying a till pass over it, and like, lift opens at 8, nobody knows what happened. It's like, holy
Yeah.
god, like those videos you see of them replacing bridges at night or
See,
something.
that's the best part of this podcast, is hearing stories like that. I know those things happen and exist, that type of labor intensive job happens during the either 8-hour shift or it may not even be, it may be a 24-hour shift fixing something for all we really know. But Threadbow was probably my closest thing that I've worked that's in maybe comparison to Killington, with just the sheer amount of snowmaking, the variable amount of weather, how impressive it was to see the operators that had worked there for years just run the machine and put out a really good product every morning in the worst possible conditions I'd ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
God, and snowmakers there. I've said it before on the show too. Like, it was amazing seeing those guys run that automated system and help us out and learn a little bit about that process too. But I mean, I think that like, if you're a rookie operator at Killington, it's definitely an experience, I'd have to say. Gotta have a bit of an open mind. And when Jeff was telling me that, he was like, dude, that was definitely the best part. Every day, showing up, not knowing what I was going to get into was such a turn on. I was hyped. I was like, well, variable conditions, could be doing anything tonight. Could be running a loader, could be doing that.
Yeah, it could be doing.
I also thought that was a good question from Will too.
Yeah, Willie's he's awesome. We love Willie.
Well, man, I'm excited that you're on the show. Again, I appreciate your time that you're taking to catch up with me, but I definitely want to know more about you. What you're up to now, where you've been, and kind of, if you could, however deep you want to go, just paint that picture of growing up as Corey Tredtin. What did that look like?
I guess this is quite the journey, but I grew up in Vermont. My dad was a hockey player, big time hockey guy from Leominster, Massachusetts. He moved up here way before I was born, and we ended up doing a lot of like snow stuff, skiing and skating, playing a lot of hockey. My dad's house, my parents' house, has a pond in the front that we would play like pond hockey on and skate in the winter. And then in the summers, I spent a lot of time at the skate park as I got older. I started working at a ski shop. So like, it's always skiing. Basically got to the point where I had to make a decision between hockey or skiing. A lot of conflicts there, and obviously money. They're both pretty expensive sports. So I chose skiing and ended up getting a job in high school at a ski shop, freestyle ski shop. And we just would hit rails and ski in the park, skied in the park with like a ton of my snowboard friends. It was like only a couple of us that skied. So we were kind of like the outliers, but we like adopted the snowboarder style and, would always carry the cameras and try to film. So that sort of led me like to, in terms of films. Yeah, basically I went to like a technical school in senior year of high school for film. Worked at a couple.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I worked at a couple like there's a studio here, film studio. Just like funny to say, but we did some grip work and prop work and stuff doing that. But basically the only reason I went to film school is to run a camera for snow. My buddy in high school, my good friend, his parents had a glass shop in town. So we would take like aluminum and Lexan and 2x4s, like anything we could gather up to like build rails with. And we set those up in my parents' front yard, where like dad had a John Deere like snowblower, an old small diesel tractor, and like every storm I'd go out there and pack it down and take the tractor and like snow blow this snow into like a big pile. We took some like old ass plywood and put it up against the house and just snow blow for hours. Just push snow into like a big ass pile so we could throw the ladder up on the roof and drop in, use that as drop in ramp. Hit these
No way, dude.
Yeah, it hit these like ridiculously sketchy Lexan rails. There's like 2x4s with Lexan screwed in. This is like a type of like basically plexiglass, but when it get cold and shit, that shit would crack like crazy.
Oh man.
We tried the aluminum too. The aluminum like sucked nuts because you go and catch an edge on it. But
Did you ever fall on the Lexan and cut yourself? I got a gnarly story about that. But dude,
yeah, we never got none of us actually ever got hurt on the features or dropping in. But we certainly learned real fast that like aluminum and Lexan was terrible. So I ended up, yeah, ended up like buying like a shitty ass wire feeder welder and teaching myself to weld and like just taking scrap metal from everywhere and anywhere and building metal rails. Finally, but yeah, my dad would take all his painting lights and throw them in the front yard. And he's like, my power bill's adding up. Like, yeah. But he they never charge us.
Oh.
They never charge us for any of that. I think they were just stoked we were out there, not like doing some dumb shit.
yeah.
But yeah, we do that, and then they get a little older. We take that, and eventually we take that. We got pretty brave. We take that John Deere like down the road, like into town, into the city a little bit, and like go take it and push snow, dig out some rails, push snow up to rails and shit, hit it with the tractor, or like build a drop in ramp, like sessions and sessions some rails in town. Nobody and nobody. You show up with a tractor, like nobody's kicking you out. They're like, "Oh yeah, you're just here digging it out." We set up a stop sign. Like cops drove by all day. My friend, our buddy Dylan, was like, it's like a pan plant and a stop sign.
Do you think that's real quick on that? Like, do you think that is definitely an East Coast thing? Because in recent years, we in Tennessee at Science Hill High School. I mean, it was probably a down rail I mean, nothing crazy, but it was mellow. It was fun little rail. Wasn't the best landing, but the run in was weird and took a bunch of snow to make it work. Didn't have to get drug into it, but you had to pump across a road. And then after that, it was a pretty quick transition from in run into takeoff, but it was probably, it was 16 feet. It was short. It wasn't long, so you weren't on it very long. But the cops drove by multiple times. Like, they would turn the sirens on and be like, "Yeah, that was sick." They just didn't care.
I think it just depends on like the owner. Like there was a church in town. There was a church in town, and they had this it was like 1x1 square tubing stock rail, and there was two pieces of it, like one gigantic. It was probably like 100 feet between the two buildings. And then it took like a right turn, and then there was probably like a 30-foot rail, and it was just amazing. Like they had two motion lights on the side of the building.
Ooh.
That were like 6 feet away, and no stairs, just flat concrete ramp a hill, and we would just go there and session that thing for all night long, and it was never a bust. It was always perfect. I mean, we would go there a couple nights a week and just hit that thing, and nobody ever said anything. I just think it depends on like where you're at, like the landowner or something, if they're gonna get all butthurt about it, But
yeah, I don't think I don't think the
cool.
city just cared. I don't think the city cared at all. It was amazing, but equipment entering the scene. What was really the progression of you going towards a ski resort?
Yeah, so like after we, as we went through with all this, like doing all this stuff in the winter, like in the front yard, yada yada. I was always running the tractor, and just kind of like always seeing the snowcats around the resort, and was like, man, if I had one of those, I could like do so much work, do so much great stuff. But our buddy Jay Rosenbaum, Rosie we called him. He was at the skate park all the time with us in the summer, and he was the park supervisor, train park supervisor, and he'd been in Killington since like 93, 94, doing that work. So kind of friended him and got in, hanging out with him, talking to him, in the winter, and basically like just was like, what can I get like a cat? Can I like ride in the cat and check that out? And he set me up with that. I like remember even before in the end I ended up working for him. In like 2004, I started with him as a hand crew guy. But like earlier than that, I mean, I remember measuring the half pipe with him. He's like, he's like, yeah, you want to go hold the tape measure? I'm like, hell yeah. you know,
Hell yeah, dude. Yeah.
in my like ski boots, going through the catch under and the old steps, just measuring pipe, making sure we were at like the right height, or the guys were at the right height, because I wasn't involved at all. But dragging mailboxes around in the cat with the chain. It was like, yeah, that was like the intro. And it was awesome. I spent a lot of time in that passenger seat.
How many hours do you think you spent in the passenger seat before you got in the snowcat?
Oh Lord. That's kind of like an embarrassing
whole
number.
Season, that many accumulated hours?
Yeah, probably. It's an embarrassing number. Like I would work, man, like I got a couple hours before I worked for Rosie, and then once after I started working for him, it was like just easy because I started to know the cat guys, and I'd work for him, and then those guys would come in. We'd come in off the hill, and I would just change my boots up real quick and go and like ride in the cat. And I'd ride till I like couldn't stand anymore. I was like, all right, it's like 10 p.m. I probably should get out of here, and just ride and ride and just, yeah, it's kind of like a sickness, I guess.
I wouldn't call it that, dude. Like, I mean, that's kind of a good obsession, because I don't think that a lot of people really practice that. It's like, okay, it's like, all right, here you go. Here's like 2 weeks in the machine, and good luck with that. That's it.
Yeah, I was like way before I knew much of anything. I was like 18, living with my parents. It's like, am I gonna go home? What am I gonna do? Go home, go to bed? Like, nah, I'd rather just sit in this cat, shoot the shit with Taylor. That's the guy I learned from, Taylor Baggett. He's awesome. He's still around. Yeah, I learned a ton just watching him, just really watching him, how he moved that machine, like every feel of that machine, like how it felt on the side hill and up and over, where it tipped, where it teetered.
Yeah, as things evolve too, and I thought you just brought up a really good point. I mean, and we've talked about how much seat time you had before you actually started operating. I think that's a really interesting point. I can't relate at all. Yeah, I think that's a really cool point, because it's a really good highlight for people to listen.
It sounds like boring, and I was always sitting there like, oh, like I want to drive, and like I did drive a little bit, but you just those feelings of like knowing when the machine is on the edge of either greatness or just sheer terror, and everything's about to go to shit really fast. When you learn that, like when you're not driving, it's just like it's just like burned in your brain, and it's like, and it doesn't really ever go away. I mean, you still remember, like I still remember, like falling off the jump, like I still remember exactly that teetering point. And had I like known now, what I know, or known then what I know now, like, yeah, I could have stopped it. But it's like a learned thing, and there's a lot of stuff going on in there. So if you spend a lot of time and you feel all those movements, and see like how coming over breakover, like how you really have to start lifting your blade before you're even over the breakover, but really you start to feel that in the tracks, or in the ass of the seat before you even have to make a reaction with the blade. You learn that, like, just learn those feelings. There's definitely a lot to that.
Here's something that, you mentioned this just a little bit ago. We started to unpack a piece of it, but I want to spin it maybe a different way. Is, the East Coast, I have always thought, is an animal, with how each resort goes about providing their product for the guests the next morning. The snow. The Southeast, the Northeast, you got that middle area in there, but people always kind of dub that, I feel like, the East Coast style of skiing. That is the East Coast. Those are the East Coast resorts over there. and so much attention is given to the West Coast, the Rockies, the Sierras, the Pacific Northwest, Cascades. So much attention is given to those places. A lot of what was originated for half-pipe contests and riding was on the East Coast, if we were going to talk parks. But if we're just talking strictly weather, the East Coast is rich in snowboard and ski history. It's an animal to produce a product for people to ride on the next morning. But why is there so much? Is it because it's just the West Coast? I mean, I feel like everybody has their different elements and they battle that. But why do you think that is?
Not to take anything away from the West. I mean, the challenges are out there too, but I think the East is certainly like definitely a different type of animal, if you will. There's some steeps out there. We certainly had avalanches, man-made avalanches by snowmaking, making snow the raw, wet type of snow on top of some very, very dry natural snow. Snowmaking is just is very heavy. I mean, we're super, super, super reliant on snowmaking here. I think a lot of snowmaking, if I'm not mistaken, like a lot of that came out of the East. I mean, Killington, for example, is like had a whole department. They basically created a K3000, a couple different Ks guns, but the K3 was an animal adjustable from 30, basically 29 degrees wet bulb to negative 29 if you keep cranking the nozzle open. But there's not many guns that have that big of a snowmaking window, and they just change it with a pair of channel locks and just crank the brass nozzle on the front of it, which is pretty awesome. But I mean, you had, as far as grooming, like, I don't know, I guess I can't really say because I don't know exactly what was going on in the West, but here we had a lot of tuckers, dragon powder makers, basically rolls, like expanded steel offset rolls, or even just like some of the guys are telling me stories about just the bulldozers with 2x4s. It was basically strapped to the tracks and they were just out packing snow with those. I think there's a lot of history in that, and it's whether snowmaking or like old time groomers, and I think something you really get out here too is just like a ton of pride, because we're small acreage and do a lot of volume. As far as skiers, everyday changes and different type of customers, whether you're out of Boston or New York or very small town charm. Everybody knows everything. And there's a lot of tradition here too, in the snow industry.
I've got another special guest question for you. It's from Elijah Hamilton. So I will play it for you now.
Oh, hey, wait, hold on. Hey, what's up, Blade Dive? Elijah Hamilton here. Got a question for Corey. How you doing, buddy? Can't wait to listen to your story and your stories. Really stoked to have gotten to know you over the years. I have a couple questions for you. First, how many people have tried to hire you, and what keeps you in Rut Vegas? Second question, tell me about how the Woodward brand influences what you build for the season, what you do day to day, how that goes for you. And the final question is, has the fucking Ford Ranger guy come to your house yet? Peace, brother. Hope you're well.
Oh, Lord. Yeah, Ford Rangers have been a pretty leading role in the snow removal process for me, at all my houses. I started with an 86 Ranger standard shifter, and the shifter knob fell off, so we took an old ski pole and retrofitted that bad boy, so you had the wrist gut band and everything for plowing. And now I got a 94. Yeah, and Yeah, that's great. They're awesome. Just throw chains on them and just hammer. But no, I haven't. The guy has not reached out to me, which is kind of a shame. We've plowed, we plowed a lot of snow.
Ranger loyal. Yeah.
I'm not even a Ford guy, to be honest with you, but but the Rangers is not. Yeah, they haven't let me down. I had to get rid of the '86 because it turned into a 3-wheel drive, and the rear springs are all broken. So yeah, sure. So we've kind of, well, we've involved a lot of like Peace Park's probably like one of the biggest challenges. I mean, creating a lot of transition features top to bottom, um, in Timberline, and trying to make just endless amounts of lines and different ways to ride the thing, so it's always different. That was like a pretty big challenge for us, and also fun. Really, like, open your mind to like what was possible with what the Zog and just the machines period, and trying to like make that so it's accessible from the mini shred right up to Rad Dad or the pros that would come riding through. So like a lot of just trying to like sneakily put big landings next to smaller takeoffs. So if you saw it, you could really send it, but you know, or you could just kind of hip that jump takeoff into like a little bit of side tranny. So you could get 0 air or 40 feet,
Yeah.
depending on what you saw or how you wanted to hit it. And then a lot of like the progression stuff too. Like we've totally kind of revamped that into more stop and drop, and um, just a lot of space, and kind of like opened that up so that you can have some more comfort and and room to breathe, say, and learn your tricks, and not be so like forced. You're not next to like, there's not some small box next to like a gigantic box where people are hauling the mail over it. Like these zones are off the beaten path a little bit, and they're more tucked away, so you have some privacy, and you have just like a lot more forgiving atmosphere to sort of learn, and then you can take that skill and progress through the zones. So yeah.
That's super sick. I can tell you that I have definitely appreciated all of that for our kiddo, because it has made my experience up there just way more fun for me as a parent, and it makes our kids' experience up there fun. Like, it's like we could go make snowman on the side of the trail, or we could definitely not, and get into some snowboarding. Like, it's just mellow. I've appreciated
Yeah.
it so much. Yeah, I really have. Um,
Yeah, it's definitely cool. You want to make it like inclusive, for everybody, and that's really what the the idea is, and yeah, I think it's done a pretty good job of doing that here.
how many different people have tried to hire you?
It's been a lot. I've certainly, I don't know really the number, but it's been a few. Yeah. Um, I don't know. Vermont is just like is like very special to me. Aside from growing up here and having family here, but just something about it. The challenge and the seasons and the day to day change. I mean, the weather is very unpredictable, and just southern Florida temperature, and then the next night you might be like, damn, I'm in a sweatshirt, jeans, and sitting around a campfire. um, and that's cool, and just the way the storms roll in is wild. It's a challenge. The East is special like that.
It's not like you've been, and I've said this before. I'm jumping all over the place right now, but some
Mm.
folks are very much worried about, and I was at one point in time in my career for sure. Oh my God, I was obsessed with just trying to climb the ladder. But you strike me as somebody that is not necessarily that way. You're not wrapped up in a job title. You're more wrapped up in what you're passionate about, and you're sticking to that. You're being true to yourself, you're being true to your surroundings, and you're not necessarily going to uproot everything that you have to run after something. Is that true? I mean, just outside looking in, that's what I would have to assume.
Yeah, it's definitely like, I don't know. I think it's easier to work with people or prop people up or try to get movement or for like younger guys coming in. I'm like, hey, this guy's awesome. Like we should do something for them. We should get them like a raise or like give them a job or try to like include them more. And I find that easier like to be a cheerleader if I'm not like in a management type. And that's like really like as a pat like I really really like that. Like I love
Mm.
seeing people succeed and learn things and just and wait, maybe they move on and they do like other successful things like Will and Jeff. I mean, these guys have like moved on from the resort, but they're still like absolutely crushing it in their own world. And and that to me is like pretty rewarding. Yeah, and as far as like a title goes, I don't know. I mean, I kind of do a lot of things, so it's hard to like really put like a title on it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, like the Jedi. We should call you the Jedi.
Yeah.
But like,
That's shout out Rosenwald. But yeah.
if you have somebody that's like that, like you are, which I think is incredible, because I love being that way. I've realized that that's more of who I am, and what I was previously is less of really who I am. I love being a part of a team that I can elevate, that I can support, that I can help push forward, whether that's at a superior, if we want to go there, manager title, or not. I love lifting people up and propping people up so that they can succeed for sure. And I think there is definitely, I think, a list of things that people project or think or say out loud that they think that certain people should be able to do if they are in management roles or if they're in operator positions. But you don't really get to those points of being able to do those things without kind of enduring what we've already talked about, with either sitting in the passenger seat for a while or failure or coming up through the ranks, if you want to call it that. But do you think that that's true? Like, if there is a supposed to kind of attitude that is there, or maybe it's a stigma that people who are interested in being a part of the industry or want to be an operator, and they're looking at management or they're looking at the experienced people or the experienced operators, and they're saying, well, they should supposed to be able to, they're supposed to be able to do this, but we're all only human, right?
I think there's some of that. Like, you can have the knowledge of the machines and be able to operate. But then yeah, there's definitely some like management stuff. Are you good with dealing with people? Are you good with you know, I don't wanna say egos, but like just people. I mean well, that's probably one of the hardest parts of like supervising and like having a department is learning all the way that people respond. And like a long time ago, my manager, I guess, snow surface manager, he told me, he was like, yeah, the hardest part of this job is people. um is just they're what you need, and everybody's different. So you can't go into the same scenario. You can't really teach people the exact same way. So you always gotta like feel them out and learn, kind of what makes them tick, I suppose, and play to that. Some people want to sit. Some people will sit in that passenger seat for hundreds of hours and learn everything, or some people just want to go, and they'll have to learn on their own. And you can coach them in that direction, but um, learning all those ins and outs is certainly. But to say that you need to you need to be the best excavator operator to train somebody. Like I don't really think that's true. I think, if you have the general skills and you can train somebody and how to be safe in that piece of equipment, and how to operate it in like a manner that, like, this is the idea and this is what's safe and this is what we're trying to do, and then let them go. I certainly have guys that do things better than I do, and I'm like, damn, that was awesome.
That was sick. Teach me how to do that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
no,
that's a really good
I,
point.
I still learn things all the time.
One thing I really wanted to hit with you was, the supposed tos and the checklists and the ability to just do it all as the person who's either grooming or maybe the perception of someone that wants to be an operator or a snowmaker, whatever it is that you're doing in the industry. You're probably looking at so many of these people out there and you're going, I can get to that point. And I think, yeah, you probably can. You can definitely get to that point if you want to. But I think there's a couple questions you got to ask yourself. One, how much are you willing to sacrifice? Two, what's going to happen when you make those sacrifices? And three, are you going to be stoked when you attain whatever it is that you were chasing after because you set your sights on that skill set or that position, And that to me is just you and I talking offline about a bunch of stuff. That is something that I feel like you have kind of honed in on as a person. You've gone and you've said, this is what I'm about. This is who I am. I'm not going to be any different than that. This is how I learn. I know what I'm going to have to do to get to attain any of that. These are the things that I'm going to have to kind of maybe sacrifice, maybe not, or give up a little bit of. What do you think about that? Like, I would be really curious to know your take on that.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I've certainly, now, I mean, I think like in the last 5 years, I've sort of realized that, personal time or other things than snowcat work is very beneficial to the life. But my first like 5 years on the job, 6 years, 10 years, like that was all that I thought about and cared about, like working hand crew and then riding in the cat and then going to sleep for a couple hours and then going back. And then once I started driving, I would, run cat and then go in for the shift change and then be like, hey, talk to the graveyard supervisor, like, you need guy to stay. And of course, they always needed somebody to stay because who doesn't like extra help? So I'd stay till 2, 3 in the morning and just keep going and going and going, and then wake up and do it all again. And it did consume my life for a lot. And I guess I would say really just getting older. It's kind of the only thing that really changed the perspective on that of probably should spend some time with your family, or you should do some things for yourself, and this is just recreation. I know it definitely can consume you.
There's stuff that you've done. I mean, obviously, you said you've been around Killington for quite some time, and you've contributed to terrain parks in many ways. You've contributed to trail grooming. You've assisted in summer capital projects, I'm sure, at one point in time. Dirt work. There's all kinds of things. But how are you contributing outside of the ropes in just maybe the largest way at Killington right now?
So I think probably like the thing that I'm most enjoying or having the most, fun and with now is just like is working with younger guys and training people or just like sharing a lot of my my fuck ups and don't do this and this is the way we should do that and this is why, stuff like that. Like that's kind of what I've really leaned into and sort of really do enjoy the most out of is just is sort of bringing people up and and working, working team and kind of like showing guys that, maybe like, we're down here at like say 500 feet and this is our zone and this is our world, but really, like, and we'll say we'll zoom out a little bit, like we'll go to 500, like 1,000 feet. Like, okay, this is the ski patrol department, and they're in our world because this, and we can't leave snow like that because these guys are gonna have to deal with it in the morning. And then we'll say, okay, we'll click out another couple of 1,000 feet and look at the resort. How is the customer going to see this, or what are we, if we leave a product like a crap, like, somebody going to take a picture and post it on social media, like, look at this ball of snow in the middle of the trail. Like, I mean, that kind of stuff really can change the view of the whole resort and really affect the bottom line. I mean, a lot of this stuff is so accessible now through social media, and people do have a lot of say on the internet, whether or not they should or not. So like training guys, or showing guys, like, the real reality of like what it's like to be in a courtroom trying to defend why there's a ball of snow in the middle of of a blue run.
Yeah.
There's a lot to this. Like, it's not just driving a snowcat around.
I do want to get into the push road questions before we get too far along, so I am going to jump ahead. So I'll play the intro and we'll roll right into it, man.
Let's hit it.
The push road question of the day.
That's right, the push road question of the day. And it's my favorite part of the show. It is, as I get choked up there talking about it.
It's a great part.
Let's see. Let's start off with Mr. Kevin Soller. Kevin Soller has a question for you. And Kevin's question is, favorite snack or best snack to bring in the snowcat?
Best snack in the snowcat. Damn, that's deep. Well, I guess I'm gonna say, like, I kind of like pistachios or like peanuts. Like, I'm like those kind of like nuts. So like salty nuts. Nothing like salty nuts.
You like salty nuts?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, it's nothing like
Fantastic.
it. Yeah, no, those are great. But they can keep you going. Good energy out of them, and they're easy. You can just kind of dump them. Otherwise, if I wasn't doing that, I'd probably say like some goldfish and get like that pack, and you can kind of make that shape and take the mouth of that goldfish and sort of like make it like an old school milk carton and just like dump it in your mouth. But if you put the goldfish package on like the back, like in the back pocket, like on the PBs, like on the back rack there, like right under the glass, it just heats up and you get some like warm goldfish. It's great. Or you can put your peanuts back there too, get some like warm peanuts. Yeah, it's fire. It's delicious.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Are you a box kind of goldfish guy, or are you a package kind of?
Man,
I guess
the
a box could also be.
Box is pretty aggressive. Box is pretty aggressive. It's like, yeah. No, that box will last you about a month, but no, I like the package. It's like a Parmesan or the regular. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, I'm picking up what you're putting down. I can get down with that. I could definitely get down with that. Kevin, I would like to see you try a banana mayonnaise sandwich. If you're listening and tuned into this episode, Kevin, we'll definitely share that on the social media channel for the Blade Dive.
Yeah, I want to see a photo evidence, or it didn't happen, bro.
Or it didn't happen. Let's see. Next push road question is from Stuart Curry.
Stewie gang.
Stuart wants to know, Corey, what's the sketchiest thing you've ever seen happen while grooming at Killington?
Probably him driving the Zog. Like, no, just kidding. He's the man. Stewie is like Yeah. If you ever want to train, like this is for anybody out there in like a supervisor position, find yourself a pilot. Okay, this kid, you find a pilot who likes gauges and like really like very methodical things that make sense. Yeah, that's your Zog guy. Stuart is great. He's been with us for quite a while now, but he's like our main Zog guy. And yeah, he's a pilot. He's a private pilot. Also. And yeah, there's nothing like it. The attention to detail is really great. No, Stewie, the sketchiest thing, phew, I don't know. We were dozing this pipe. I'm just gonna call it. He's gonna take it on this one, but we were pushing the pipe, built dozing. We're like, oh, we can get Stewie to doze because he's gonna cut it, and we want him to get involved in the build. But we had probably like a 10-12 foot deep doze trench, and Stu was ripping through there with 350, and he had his ears closed the whole time. And I don't know how he did it, but he made that trench so narrow that both tracks were like up on the walls. And we were like, and I thought for sure he was gonna get stuck in the thing. And we were like, dude, you gotta like open your wings and get that trench a little wider so you can actually fit through there. But I mean, it was like the steepest part of the run, like leading in, and like I don't really even know how he cut a trench so tall and narrow, but yeah, that's what I'm going with. It was pretty awesome.
That is awesome. Nick Cizik is the next special guest question. It's more of a statement.
I'm sure it is. He's a statement maker, yeah, no doubt.
The water hazard culvert on Grizzly.
Oh Lord, yeah.
I want to know more.
Okay, yeah. So let's see, one spring. So Grizzly is a trail that is below Dreammaker, which is like the main park. And then Grizzly is now called Superpipe Trail because it leads you down to what would be the Superpipe. There's like a big ass swamp there. There's a side trail that comes in from Great Bear or Skyburst now. But anyways, that trail comes across. So we had a feature. We had a culvert. We had like a 12 or 18-inch culvert in the park. A jib like back, or it was like super early 2000s. So
yeah.
You had a culvert, like you were like next level. So we were jibbing a culvert. Well, this ridiculous river popped up overnight, and so we just were like, oh well, we're like, I don't know how we're gonna open tomorrow. It's like April, so it like just this river across the trail. We popped out that feature in quotation, popped out the culvert, dug a trench, threw the culvert in the trench, and then bladed just a shit ton of snow up and over the culvert to make the run connected. So yeah, everybody funneled up and over this culvert, and the water was just gushing through it all day, and it lasted for the day. It was great.
Like, amazing.
Yeah. That's the East Coast. Rivers will show up where you least expect them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like we've talked about it on the episode already. Just like the East Coast is an animal, and yeah, like there are other places that are the animal, but there's definitely a spotlight on the West Coast, and I'd like to put the spotlight on the East Coast as well too. I think it's just as gnarly of a proving ground if you're trying to operate, or if you're trying to build something, or if you're just trying to continue to be a badass operator. It's definitely tough conditions for sure.
Yeah, we'll take the spotlight. You can let it shine down on us.
That's what I'm saying, man. Let's put it on there. Let's put that spotlight on there.
Yeah, why not?
So Zach Crown has your next push forward question, and he asks, what's harder, conceptualizing the most progressive parks or figuring out how to groom them?
Neither. Dealing with the people, dealing with the operators, dealing with the operators. No, man, I don't know. Like, that's funny. Designs come easy, but then I think it probably would be like, okay, this is a sweet design, and a lot of this will happen all the time from like a hand crew to a grooming guy. Like the hand crew will drop some wild thing. You're like, wow, this is amazing, but guess what? The snow cat is never going to groom that. So either you guys are going to do that every night, Or we could do it maybe this way, make a little bit more space here, a little more space there, yada yada yada, and end up with a feature that's groomable but also cool. And and not to like discredit anybody, but but yeah, I mean, a lot of the ideas that are drawn on paper are awesome. And you're like, if we had a one-day photo shoot, that would be sick. But like, what if we just put a little space, made this groomable? Like, how would that work? And in the end, everybody sort of like jumps on board. They're like, yeah, we don't really want to like rake thousands of feet of shit every night. So yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Let's do it with the cat. but yeah, it's good question.
So Braden has your next push road question, and he asks, or he has a statement first. He says, "My dog, my Jedi Master,
my dog."
What do you think makes up a great up and coming operator?
Okay, well, all right. So this is coming from Braden. So all right, Brad. With kid has many names, but the great up and coming operator is yourself. Okay, I mean, this kid, Braden, has some heavy equipment experience, worked hand crew, just hungry, like very hungry, loves snowboarding, good snowboarder, lot of creative ideas. Get him in a snowcat. He's like, oh, I don't know. We're like, no, dude, you can do it. You can do it. He's like, okay, cool. He's like, how should I do this? Like, what should I do that? Just hungry to learn, okay? And then also not afraid to get out of the cat and grab a shovel and rake or spore, whatever needed to be done. I mean, just so willing to do anything. He worked bike crew with us too, and he was the only operator I've ever seen that he'd bungee cord a rake and a flat shovel to the lift arms on the skid steer. So we'd go out, push up some dirt, park the skid steer, get out, rake, slap. And he was just like motivated self-starter. Like, you'd be like, hey, Brad, where are you going? Oh, I'm gonna go up and do this trail, like whatever. All right, cool. You wouldn't see him all day, and he'd just go and knock it all out. And honestly, like just a motivation or self motivation like that, and just a drive to do that, and also like the willingness to learn from other people and not be scared to get out of the machine or get on your feet and do some work by hand. And that's my advice.
Those are some good questions. I really appreciate everybody contributing that did contribute. And if you want to contribute, it's weekly. You'll just need to look for the Instagram story that comes out with the guest's picture and the little question block. And if your question doesn't fit in that, send us a DM. But look for that either every Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on when we're interviewing guests. And you can be a part of the show. So would be stoked to have anybody and everybody that wants to contribute. Corey, thanks for being a part of the Push Road question of the day, man.
Hell yeah, man. No problem.
The Push Road question of the day.
I, not that I don't follow Corey on social media for how he contributes to Killington, but I have been known to kind of just, save some stories and admire some of the work that he does around the house, like greenhouse work, concrete countertops, plumbing, all that stuff. But it's not because it's like, I had this leak and I got to fix it. It's, oh yeah, I'd like to make this better. Let me figure out a better way to do this or a cool way to do it or get somebody else involved that needs me or needs to help me, however it is. Like, I think that's dope. And you really seem to enjoy the design, the execution process, the final product. Is that true or false? Am I wrong or right there?
I think I definitely do. Design-wise, I'm not like more of like a build it and then try and like design it after. But like if I got a good plan, like some collaboration and stuff, like I really do. I enjoy like the execution of the job or the problem solving of how to like solve, get to the end result. That's definitely where I like to be at.
How difficult was the concrete countertop pour?
That's just a lot of like following directions as far as like weighing out all the parts, all the little like the additive and the color and then the mix into the water, the way you mix it out. Just kind of following a lot of directions. And then just not being scared, like I always tell the guys like, hey, you gotta crack a couple eggs to make an omelet. Sometimes you gotta sometimes you gotta crack 12. Don't be scared. The shells will be flying, but in the end you're gonna have a beautiful omelet. So yeah.
Yeah. I do want to get into our next special guest question. It is from Jeff Doran himself. Doorhole for
the door hole.
The door hole. So I will go ahead and play that for you now. He's contributing all the way from the state of Utah. So here we go.
Yo, CT, Storehole. Stoked to hear you on the Blade Dive. You got a couple questions for you. First one being what your favorite BFR memory was. I know we had a lot of them in those couple years we spent living together at that house. Second one is what was your favorite blueberry memory? I know there were some good ones there too, even if it wasn't that long that you came out and raked for. And my serious question for you is, in an alternate universe, if it wasn't for snowcats or the ski industry, where do you think you'd be? Would you still be in equipment of some kind, or do you think you would have gone another route, like maybe the AV route that I know you were kind of into back in the day before I met you? Excited to hear what you got to say, and thanks again for everything. Wouldn't be in the position I'm in now, doing what I'm doing, if it wasn't for the stuff you had taught me a long time ago. Take care, man. Hopefully I'll get to see you soon.
Doorhole himself with the deepest of questions. Boy, yeah, Doorhole is. Yeah, this kid rolls in for a job interview. He's looking like the Ginger Jesus of and like that is the best picture we could ever say. I mean, he was like Shaun White prime, like longest red hair you ever seen in your life. And our friend Troy, Mr. TK himself, was like, "Hey, you gotta meet this kid. He's got a diesel. He really likes diesels." I'm like, all right, cool. But yeah, BFR, we lived together for a couple of years. We did a shit ton of four-wheeling, built a bunch of stuff, welded a ton of stuff. I don't know, man, the best memory. There was a lot. Probably, honestly, like the house, we had like 7 people living in the house, but in the summertime, it was basically Jeff and I. Nobody, like everybody else was in different towns or work nights or something. I don't even remember, but we just like grill up so much good food, just way more than we could ever eat. Cheeseburgers and sausages. We were stacking like hot Italian sausage patty on top of a cheeseburger, on top of like a burger patty, and grill that thing up and throw some cheese on it. just sketchy shit. But yeah, that was great. There's a lot of stuff we probably shouldn't talk about on the old Blade Dive.
You can talk about it if you want to, but that's up to you.
Yeah. There was a lot of four-wheeler mess up. There's some footage on the Instagram if you dig deep enough, like in the ice. There was a pond there too, another pond in the backyard. But yeah, we were ripping the four-wheelers across there all winter, and then the spring it became really fun when you didn't know if you were going to fall through the ice or not. There's a couple of videos of Jeff somewhere Jeff just falling through and just holding it to the bars, and somehow that thing climbed back up out of the ice.
Oh my god!
We were all
we gotta find that video.
Rolling, laughing. Yeah, it's out there. It's out there for sure. Oh man. Yeah. So let's see. So blueberries. So blueberries is like a totally random thing. So Doorhole started grooming with us, and then in the summer, like in August time, he'd go up to Downey, Spain. He's like, "Oh, you guys got to come blueberry. You got to go blueberry harvest. You got to come up here. It's awesome." Have you ever been like? I know you say you haven't been east, but so down east is like it's the farthest east northeast point you can pretty much go in the country. I mean, it is a different world. I mean, this is awesome. It's basic lobstermen and blueberry out, and yeah, the barrens up there is like 40,000 acres of blueberry land.
Wow.
And they're natural, but they're wild, but they've been sort of clear. Other stuff's been cleared out of the way and sprayed and irrigated to grow the berries, but it's all mechanically harvested with tractors and these wild harvester heads that hang off the side of these John Deere 6000 series. And you harvest, you pick them at like 0.6, but 0.6 miles an hour, the machine's going, they're filling totes going round and round, around the fields. Well, we just with like radios, and we just all day. I mean, we were going up there, we worked 12-hour shifts. We work 5 to 5, and then there was a night shift coming, work 5 to 5, and we would just pick and pick and pick. But first time I was up there, let's see, best memory. There's so many memories. Jorhol just like getting so mad. His rakes would get jammed up. He's just out there smashing the rakes, like trying to get them back in the shape. And the kid would like get out.
Blueberries messed up my rake. I could just
yeah, it was all the rocks. There's so many rocks. It's like Rocky's a shit. Red is a rocky shit pit of rocks. And the things are rake. But a ton. We ended up like sending a bunch of guys, a bunch of people from Killington up there. And they love the groomers because like it's something, it's like very similar to grooming. You're paying attention, you're watching the rakes, adjusting the heads, adjusting the picking heads, and dropping totes behind you, and there's a billion moving parts. You're looking in front of you, looking behind you. But yeah, I didn't really like running the harvest. I run around a loader, which is like entertainment because we'd go, be driving out through the field, picking up the totes, bringing them back to the reefer trailer, slamming them in the trailer, and bringing empty totes, and then like on the go loading them up on top of the harvesters. So they're rolling at 0.6, and the idea was like, well, if you can sneak up behind them in the loader, get them up, get those empty totes in the bin, and drop them, land them on top of the stack of empty totes, and like just kind of like hit your brakes a little bit, so then they, the harvester would pull away from you, and the tote would lock in the 6 stack or whatever, and the totes would lock in and get, yanked off your forks. And that was wild. It was so fun.
sounds like a good time.
Jeff would jump out of the tractor and eat like 30,000 of those things every time he take a pee. And the guys we worked with are like, I wouldn't eat any of those. Like, dude, the pesticide guys, like, like I wouldn't trust any of those things. Like, chomping berries. Like,
I'll tell you what, man, it's been really interesting. I've appreciated just in the couple of phone calls I've had with him, just meeting him vocally, and just his thought. It's really cool catching up with that guy for sure. Yeah, super cool. Yeah. So I can only imagine too, like, the radio banter.
Yeah, there's, my God, the radio banter, rolling into Irving at like 4:30 in the morning, like seeing all lobstermen, like grabbing ice and beer, and we're like, yeah, it's a good idea. So we'd load up ice and beer in our cooler too, and like rip out there across the barrens. Like you couldn't see shit. Like that shit was crazy. The first year, the first year I was there harvesting, running a loader for like 3 days. Those little mini loaders, which is fine. Like, but then they're like, oh, I think we're gonna call night crew off because we only got this one trailer to fill. Well, the berries are great during the day, but of course they went to shit by the time we were, 6, 7 o'clock, and we had already been there for 12 hours. And then the fog rolls in, like down east. I mean, the fog rolls in, like right on the coast there. You can't see anything. So I'm like driving around like lost. I'm like very lost. I'm like, okay, like I know the field we're in. The field's like a mile by like, 400 feet. I'm like, okay, I'm on this gravel road. I know I can see the road where I'm at, but like I don't see anybody's lights, and I am like gone. And I get the radio, I can still talk to them. Like, where are you guys? Like, well, how many tree lines you pass? I'm like, I don't know, 2, 3. Turn around, like counting tree lines, and it took me like 45 minutes. I like finally see a light. And I'm like, finally see their lights. I'm like, oh God, find you guys. They're like, oh, that's great. You found us. Like, last guy, he's lost till morning. He's driving around all night, just driving around all night in the Barrens looking, couldn't find him. He's so fucking lost. 7 fields over, just you can't. I mean, the fog rolls in there like it's crazy. You can't see nothing. But
well, you're talking about like down east, though. You're talking about where? Because it's not like southeast.
No,
like
it's
down east.
it's like hella north, like Bangor, like so it's like Maine. It's just Maine.
Yeah,
Maine area. Yep. And then you go up north, go past Bangor, like up past Bar Harbor, Acadia area, and basically it's in Cherryfield, Harrington, Millbridge, Machias, basically right before you get to Canada on the northeast corner of the country. Yeah, so I think if I wasn't in snowcat world, I probably would still be in like the dirt world, the excavation. I mean, that's where my snowcats really is the passion. But that's at the time, like when I was starting out, it was really only like 3 or 4 months a year, so there's a lot of other months to fill. So that's why it got me into excavation, excavators, tractors, and moving dirt to fill those months. And I'd probably be kind of doing a lot more of that, and I don't know, maybe trying to groom some snowmobile trails or something in the winter.
Well, just along those lines, what do you think maybe some of the worst and best trends currently either within terrain parks or ski resort operations, if you don't want to go parks? Worst and best trends?
I'd honestly say, like, personally speaking, like these larger corporations and taking everything over and sort of losing like a loss of individuality per like these resorts. And then the smaller ones like kind of suffering too because they really can't afford to compete. And you kind of losing like some uniqueness or some charm with like the I don't know, just the large corporations. But it's not all bad, right? Like some of the best trends are some large corporations that are like making some really good strides. Doing a lot of like the progression world or utilizing a lot of transition. And I mean that's pushing the sport and being inclusive. So it's like a little bit of both worlds on that end, and I don't know. And then you see a lot of uphill travel, and I guess that's new-ish to us. I mean, that's great. I mean, these people are out exploring, they're out getting exercise, and it's awesome. And then you can say that's a great trend, but at the same time, it's kind of a pain in the butt for us for grooming too. It's like looking over your shoulder and like, oh, is that somebody or what is that? And are they running through fresh snow? And and in the east, it's some trails are only 4 or 5 passes wide, so you get it fresh till on it, and you get like 3 or 4 uphill travelers skiing back down through, and then it's kind of shredded. And if it sits overnight, those ruts they're pretty deep when the snow's brand new. So is that a bad trend? Well, I don't know. I mean, they're out. It's hard to get mad at them, and they're out there exploring and getting exercise, but same time, it's kind of making a little bit more work for the crewmen.
All right, I do have another special guest question for you. It's from Jay Rosenbaum, the East Coast Rosie.
East Coast Rosie.
East Coast Rosie. So I will play that for you now.
Hey, Blade Dive, what's up? It's Rosie checking in, calling in from the Green Mountains of Vermont. Heard you got Corey Tredtin on. Just wanted to ask him couple of questions. Corey, what has been your favorite and most enjoyable build, and possibly as well as the most difficult? But also, wonder if you could tell the listeners about that time we were down at Mount Snow and had some fun with the PB100. Still cracks me up to this day. All right, can't wait to hear it. Thanks.
Oh man, that dude right there is the reason that I am where I'm at for sure. Guy, is a legend here. Favorite build. Oh boy, so we had a ton of them. There's some pretty memorable ones, like being on hand crew and just Rosie and myself and Evan, our other buddy Culver. We were three of us together. Had a rail pad, and we had ice picks, couple ice picks, a chainsaw, and some shovels. And Rosie fired the chainsaw, cut some slits in the snow, like plunge cuts, and then we'd ice pick out the pieces and shovel out the like shit, like we were cutting holes in the lake, drop the legs in and stand this freaking rail up and just stop. I mean, just straight up ice. There's like not a stitch of snow anywhere. That was pretty wild. But with favorite build, it was that was just like one thing. We had to cut. There's a couple times too. We take the chainsaw and cut slashes in the snow and shit to free the legs up on these rails that had been in for a month or two and just were in so much ice. You'd like slice up the ice with the chainsaw and then try and pop them out with a snowcat. Just crazy, dumb stuff like that. Those were always memorable. But
And then the PB100, man. Tell us about that.
yeah, so I'm pretty sure he's referring to a PB. I think it was a Pana or something. It was like a cat, like a mini cabin cat they had one of the years. I don't know. We built. It was like very limited blade, but there was like probably 5, 6 dudes in the back of this cab, and we were like trying to build a little hip jump. I'm pretty sure this is what he's talking. We built this like little mini hip jump with this baby tiny cabin cat, and I was just like pushing it up and trying to backblade and like scrape this thing down with this tiny little baby cat. But yeah, there was if you've been to Cutter's Camp, there was a little adult beverages involved, and we had a grand time.
Keeping it PG with the insight there.
Yeah. No, not for the driver, mostly for the riders. But
yeah. Tim 4.
Yeah,
Tim
no,
4?
we did take that thing. I mean, we went places that I don't think that thing was designed to go quite out, where we took it, but we took it some spots.
Yeah, it's okay. Like, put the snowcat where you think it should go.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
If nothing else, it'll help with R&D. Yeah, that's exactly what Tex was talking about like years ago with, dropping in on the hip landings and shit, just breaking all the time. Well, just with like builds in general, and shout out to Jay for contributing Rosenbaum. That was awesome, man. I appreciate it. That was dope. That was awesome.
East Coast Rosie.
The just like special builds and in particular slope style. What's your take on their future? We're talking about builds and snowcats on this show.
No, I mean we gotta like stick together and like really like make this shit safe, because insurance and liability is a real thing. And I think there was like a point where we got away with a lot of stuff in the industry, and and if we gotta sort of band together, I mean, that's a lot of stuff I've sort of like come to realize, like as I get older, like wow, like we definitely did a lot of wild stuff, and we gotta really stick together and kind of pull it down for each other. And I kind of keep everybody in check. I mean, I think the internet and social media has really like helped with that. Like a lot of people see what everybody else is doing, and you can kind of stay like all together. Um, there's strength in numbers too. Like a insurance company sees everybody doing the same thing. Like we're probably good. I mean, everybody's agreeing that this is safe, and this is where the industry is at. It's like say an industry standard. Um, you know, but personally, like I mean, I'm like I love building crazy stuff that's hard to
Mhm.
build and stuff. And but like realistically, like I'm a sucker for like a straight 4-pack of just bangers that are just jumps just lined up straight.
Yeah, I
Like
am as well.
I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna send them, and then like I know every night, yeah, I'm just gonna drive a straight line, and that's gonna be fire. But you know, I'm here for like the wild stuff. I I like to challenge myself too, and like to see like the young guys, and they try it too, and that's cool. I like it. I dig it.
Along the lines of you mentioned something there too with like social media and what it is to participate in that. Um, do you think it's necessary to stay relevant as an operator? I've asked this question before, but I feel like it's it's a hot take too. It's a really good question.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I do think so. Like, I have like a real, I don't know, interesting. Like,
Cause like,
so like, yeah.
cause like for example, you don't necessarily. I mean, yeah, you can look at your Instagram feed, you as Corey Tredtin, and yeah, there's some snowcat stuff on there, but um, dude, like some of the stuff that you've posted has been maybe like an awkward pipe installation. You're holding it with the bucket and somebody's, either welding it into place or there's another machine, you know what I mean? Like it's like the technical stuff.
Hmm.
It's not so much like look at this jump that I have built,
Yeah. I mean,
Does that make sense?
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, to be fair, like it's hard to take jump, like bang and jump pictures, but like, um, yeah, I don't know. I think like if you're a good operator, that's going to speak for itself. But there is like a lot of like really cool stuff that social media is like let us do, and seeing where everybody else is at and watching like these other guys and being like, damn, like like watching Chris or Jim Master and being like, damn, like he builds stuff like that's kind of the way that I do it. Or like that's awesome, like to know that like other people do stuff the same way. But at the same time, like I think kind of that environment can be toxic. I mean, you're constantly comparing yourself, and maybe it's not just in the snow world, but it's just social media in general. I mean, there's a lot of times where you get caught up in like, oh, I'm not hanging out with my friends, or I'm not doing this, and I'm like, whatever. And like, oh, they're having fun without me. And it's just like, the shit is toxic. I mean, it does get to you. So it's kind of like a good and the bad, and you can, and I mean, it's cool. Like I love it, sharing photos and also just seeing what other people are up to. I mean, it does help. I think it helps with the creativity of, just seeing something being like, oh, that's cool, but maybe what if we switched it around a little bit, or we came in from a different side, um or set a different rail here. But yeah, you got to be careful with social media, man.
Yeah.
And you really got to be careful with social media too, like just in like what you post. I mean, you can get yourself in a pickle, or your resort in a pickle, like posting some stuff that's on the line.
Well, like what about the point of view of if you're at work and you're constantly on your phone sharing stuff on social media, what does that say?
Right,
Like
right, yeah.
what does that do? Is that a policy thing? Is that your right to be able to do that? There's a lot. Is it a safety thing? You know what I mean? Like it's one thing
Mm.
to as you get out of the cat and you're hooking up to the winch to take a picture of the sunset, but like are you winching and driving along? I don't know, like are you in a loader? Are you in a skid steer? I don't know. There's a lot of gray there, and we don't
Hmm.
have to go there, but I was just curious, like what is your thought there with that?
Yeah, no, massive amounts of gray. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, the whole social media, it's a blessing and a curse. You know,
Mm,
everything about it.
yeah.
Everything about it. I mean, everything on the internet pretty much lives forever. So,
Hmm.
just gotta think about that when you post, when you press the post, or you know, just really think about, is this something that I'm gonna be hyped on, or stoked or proud about in 5 years? You know, I don't know. It's a weird place.
Yeah, it's a weird little world. I just think that if you're doing something that's helping somebody else, like if you're propping somebody else up, or if you're discussing an issue, like that's cool. When you start taking it down the road of, I feel like I need to constantly be on there so that I can stay relevant, and to show that I'm in the machine. Well, your resume does that, shouldn't it? You know what I mean? Like
Mm,
if you're employed with somebody and you're gonna go for another job, and you've you're really trying to either prove that you're great at what you're going to be doing for the next company that you're going to be working for, your resume should speak for itself.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's just such an interesting topic.
It's really, yeah, it really is. It's really like a really interesting topic. I mean, yeah, your resume should speak, but like at some points, like these pictures of your work is like a demo reel. Like I
Mm-hmm.
mean, we a demo reel is pretty valuable. Um, I knew the the guy who taught me. He used to keep a binder of all his like designs and stuff, and he'd be like, yeah, like these are some drawings, like, and he would mark in each one, like, actually built this, success, blah blah blah, like worked out. This drawing, not so good, didn't work. And that was essentially his demo reel. And then, that was like, didn't really have like cell phone cameras or digital cameras, but like he'd take some pictures, but nothing like you have now. I mean, just the access of it is just like every night you just snap snap snap, and you can build this demo reel. Which, if you're hiring somebody, you're like, damn, this kid's great,
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, somebody could be just as good and not really photograph, or I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. My father's always been an inspiration. Granted, he's not in the industry, but like, yeah, I mean, really, when you get down to it, like the newer operators, I think is where we really my really gives me a lot of fuel. um Mike, Jeff, and Will. Jeff and Will, and they're both doing big things, like running business, starting up businesses, and um in the off seasons, and working grooming shifts in the winter, and some of the just like the younger crew, like this girl Chloe, I see her on the Instagram. The girl's just grinding, like, it's gives me fuel to see, like, she just wants something and just like loves grooming so much. She's traveling around, like, doing her thing, and that's so cool. Like, it gives a lot of inspiration. I'm like, man, kind of jealous, really, that people are out there just grinding like that and just like chasing the dream and living it. It's awesome.
Well, it's like you were talking about with the people perspective, and the way either folks learn, or what you want to get into, like what we were talking about with that some people believe that there's a ladder they got to climb, or a job title they want to hold. And if somebody's looking to hire somebody and they're just referencing a social media account, is that an accurate representation enough of somebody? Does that make sense? Like, are you going further? Because social
Yeah.
media is just this layer of somebody. It's not necessarily who
Right.
they are.
Yeah, and well, and it's like the layer of what they want to post too. I mean,
Hmm.
usually, like, for the most part, like, make something sketchy, like I'm probably not gonna post it. You know,
Yeah,
like,
that's a great example.
like I'm definitely
Like you got
it's a lot of the good things, but probably not a lot of the shitty things. You know? So
it's like you go out there with all the all right, I have scheduled a post that I'm gonna build. It's like what? Oh yeah, I've got this rail build or this slope trail I'm gonna go groom. I am gonna post it, and then it turns out like shit, and you're like, forget that. I'm not gonna post that shit. That's horrible. It's totally filtered at that point, you know.
yeah,
So it's like only a small percentage of who you are as a person. It's a
it's a
really
wild world.
it's a really interesting it's a really interesting topic because you're right. Like it can definitely get you in trouble. It can
Yeah.
definitely give you a little bit of a black spot or a ban or it can get you fired. But it's I really don't think that people should believe that it keeps them relevant. I think that it should be a kind of like what you were saying, like a little binder. You know,
Yeah.
you can reference
it's
it or
like-
somebody else can reference it, but it's not something that proves that you are, you know,
No, it's a place to
staple.
keep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a place to keep some memory. It's a place to keep memories, and you know, and show off work that you're proud of. You know, but
Yeah.
it's not the end all be all. I mean, yeah, you still gotta keep your relationships, have your good references, have the rest of the stuff on your resume, and and then some photos and of your work that you're most proud of your your demo reel.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. That's what I hope this podcast is. I really hope that it's a library for people who are interested in being a part of the industry as an operator or in the snow industry period so they can, because I didn't have this. I mean, man, I wish I would have had it. I had perspectives I was given, but I wasn't able to. I think if I was calling Ruben Cameron more than like 2 times a day, he was probably like, dude, what? Just chill, like chill out. But I do want to try. I do have one more special guest question for you. I want to transition to that. It's from Mike Buffard, and I will play it for you right now.
What's up, Blade Dive? Parker, thanks for letting me chime in on this awesome podcast. Stoked to be a part of it. So, Corey, we've had some great times over the past 7 years. We've built some pretty incredible shit, from bike trails, ski tunnels, and even the first modified pipe Killington has ever seen. Obviously with the help from an amazing crew. Things can be stressful at times, but you always have been able to keep it calm and collected, along with effortlessly having solution for every obstacle. You've taught me basically everything I know about building parks and so much more. I can't thank you enough. The memories are endless, but there's one in particular I'd like you to explain. One time at World Cup, you decided it'd be a good idea to park the 600 winch at the bottom of the finish area while you went to get lunch, or something along those lines. I think at the time, I was busy doing a push project down there, and your cat ended up being right in the way. I continued my work around your cat, no big deal. Tell everyone what happened when you got back and tried to head up the hill to keep working. Whose fault you think it was, and how you fixed the problem. Thanks, guys. Can't wait to hear what you have to say. Peace.
Oh my god.
Again, like I told you this before, but like you are loved, man.
Dude.
You are cared for.
These guys.
People definitely.
These guys. Oh, how'd you fall off the jump? How'd you mess up? How'd you detract the winch? Well, all right. So to be fair, I was not down there for lunch. I was down there to get a reprogram in the sticks because they were testing out some stuff. Anyways, doesn't matter why I was there, but I was there.
We'll go with lunch.
Yeah, I was there because I was the badass and it was flat and I wanted to park there. And I didn't really think he was. To be fair, I didn't really think he was going to cut, a 6 foot doze trench behind me and alongside of me, but he did. And I saw the trench to the left of me, and I didn't really think that it went behind me, but it was. I just jumped back in. I was all excited to go back up the hill and get away from the base area craziness. Fired the winch up, put that thing in reverse, and just started creeping backwards, and got that that feeling I was telling you about, the the idler wheels like getting to the edge and falling.
Oh, yeah.
That was right about that feeling. It was right about that feeling. And that thing. Yeah, we went. Let's see. We went backwards and to the left off this. It wasn't 6 feet. It was probably like 2 feet, but it was enough. And the tractor just tipped down over the cut road.
Oh my.
Yeah, it was very bad, very bad. But fortunately, I was like, okay, let me see. I throw the blade in the ground and just creep forward, and I can hear the track is like bound up. I'm like, all right, get out, look, and I was off like 2 wheels in the back, and like the rear sprocket started to walk out. I'm like, all right, this is embarrassing, and pretty messed up at the same time. So Mike says, "What'd you do?" like, why did you cut this road behind? But fortunately, we had an excavator. We had a 200 or something, 250 in the yard. So I ran across the parking lot, went and cut the excavator, trammed the excavator back to the cat. There was no tiller. I didn't have a tiller on the machine. Luckily, thank God I didn't have a tiller on the machine. Hooked a chain to the stinger, and just lifted the ass up in the air. And the mechanic was still there, who was doing the teaching, the learning the track. He spun the track, and track went right back on. No problem. It didn't walk. It was out one lug, and it jumped the track guide on the rear tire. So fortunately, it wasn't really that bad, but it was bad enough for I needed a little assistance. But yeah, I just lifted the back of the machine up, kind of set it back up on the bank, and then carried on. But yeah, Mike thinks that was my fault, and I think that was his fault. So, but yeah, it's a good joke these days.
Well, yeah, Corey, we've been chatting for quite some time and chopping it up, and really just laid back. It's been mellow, and I appreciate you taking the time to be a part of this, to come on the podcast and just talk a little bit about you, what you're up to now, the future. I mean, everything that we've discussed, but it really does mean a lot. And kind of like I mentioned earlier, and you just referenced yourself, it's awesome that you are really wanting to see other people be successful, and that a part of that is communicating with them and lifting them up. And I just thanks for taking the time to do that on the Blade Dive, man. It means a lot.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Parker. Appreciate you having me on, and really have been enjoying listening to everybody on here, and yeah, it's been really cool. It's been awesome.
Huge thank you to Corey Tredtin for being this week's Blade Dive episode. Just a casual conversation. It was so mellow. I love the change of pace. Just grateful for his time and coming on the show. Truly an operator's operator, and a passion for equipment, but also a big passion for people. You know the deal. Don't be a dick. Please fill your machine up with diesel at the end of your shift.